We're live?
Yep.
Beautiful. Hello everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Badlands Boys podcast. You've got me, we've got Anthony. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm all good, thank you.
Daniel, how are you?
Yeah, right, not bad.
And tonight we have a special guest with us for the first time. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Paul. Yeah, I came here on business 5 years ago and I'm still here. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to brush up on what has happened here and what we know about the area and what we can gain from the various little sites that we see, because they all have a story to tell, but there's not much documented. So it's interesting putting these parts together.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Right, so today we're going to be talking about Cornish stories, legends, myths, things like that, because quite frankly there's a lot of folklore and history, especially associated with Cornwall. I mean, you've got, for example, like pixies, you've got the Cornish knockers, you've got different kind of spirits and witches, and you've got pagans. There's all kinds of things in different parts of Cornwall. So there's things that we got to talk about, and I've found a nice little list of some that I'd like to talk about, and we'll see if it triggers any memories in our Cornish boys, Anthony and Daniel. Who knows? They might even get possessed or something. But that's fine. We'll just gloss over that. So we're going to start with Ralph's Cupboard. Do you guys know about the giant Ralph?
I haven't heard of Ralph.
You haven't heard of Ralph? Okay.
Is that Camborne? Or is that?
It's over by Dead Man's Cove in Portreath.
I've never heard of him.
No, you don't know about Ralph's Cupboard?
Never
I
heard
think
of him.
I've heard, yeah,
He also goes by the name Wrath, if that helps.
I might have heard, back in primary school time, that might have come up in one of the...
I probably did, and it's what you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Learn
but
about giants.
Right, so the legend goes that it's the Dead Man's Cove specifically. It's just a little cove. It's a little collapsed sea cave right near the Dead Man's Cove. Is Ralph's Cupboard, and it was home to a particularly fierce giant, Wrath or Ralph. He would lie in wait for passing ships, which he would attack, stealing their cargo and devouring the crew. The loot from the ships would be tucked away in his cupboard. And then when ships began avoiding that area, Ralph continued with his evil ways, hurling the huge boulders that litter this coast at the ships and sinking them from afar.
Some arm on him.
That's a pretty cool little, there's not much else on him, but quite frankly, even just that little tidbit of Ralph's Cupboard, a giant who lives in a cave and hoards treasure. That's pretty cool in my opinion.
It sounds like it needs investigating.
Yeah.
We need to invest in a boat, get around there.
And go, I mean, if it's a collapsed sea cave, I don't know how much of it you can go into, but the idea is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Who knows, there could actually be treasure in there. I don't know how much treasure, but I like the idea of it. It's exciting.
Yeah, it makes sense because that's right in the corner of a bay with quite a large headland stretching out into the Irish Sea there. So once you're into that area with a southwest wind, predominant wind, you wouldn't get out in a hurry.
I mean, you can't really dodge a hurling boulder then, can you?
No.
What are you going to do when you see that coming? You're just like, Captain, I think we're going down.
Certainly in a rough sea, you'd feel like somebody was chucking boulders at you if you got into that area. Definitely.
Maybe that's how the myth came to be, because that's how they described.
I think it's a very good description of being caught and trapped in that area.
And maybe someone took it a little bit too literal.
Maybe. You know what? Could be. I mean, that's the thing with these legends, stories, and myths. You never really know where they come from. It's just like rumors almost. You just kind of hear about it from somebody who's heard it from somebody and it just passes down along the way.
Then, if you think about it, it goes down on a strange tangent because myths and stuff about giants and all that. At first, when I was a youngster, I thought, there's no giants around on this earth, no way. And then when you kind of like delve off and go down these little routes on the interweb, I found like a few which are like mentioned giants out in Iraq.
Oh, right.
In caves in Iraq, and apparently there was a troop of, I think it was like 8 or so soldiers walking past this cave, and then I think they heard some sort of like noise or growling or something. And this is obviously fairly recent, like Iraq, And the next thing they knew, they saw this huge like giant ginger, which is strange. You wouldn't expect that hair colour over there. Ginger giant came out, and I think two killed two soldiers.
I love it.
I'm hoping I'm not confusing this with like a film, But
I mean,
I think
I would
have a
watch
look
it.
into it. Have a look into it. Check it out.
I love the idea of some war-torn people in Iraq. They have to report back to command, like, you know, they've lost some of their men and shit. Oh my god, what's happening?
happened?
Sir, we got attacked by a
Ginger
ginger giant. They'd be like, what the fuck are you on about, a ginger giant?
I'm gonna have a look into it. But after
I
hearing
can believe
about
that in like Ireland or something. But
Yeah.
Iraq, that is so random.
but after
That's
reading
amazing.
about that, I was like, oh, maybe Bolster and all that. Maybe that did.
Oh yeah,
you know.
that's another one we get to cover today. Is
Yeah.
It was
Bolster
probably
the giant.
exaggerated a lot.
Ginger
Who
giant in
knows
Iraq.
that there is evidence out there of bones being found.
Of really big people.
Yeah.
That's fair. Right, we're going to move on to just a little tidbit about the Hell's Mouth, because obviously, you know, got a great name, and I was like, oh, there's got to be like a cool story with it and everything. It's not really. There's just a lot of landslides and sad collapses, and quite frankly, a lot of people who believe they hear voices whenever they go check it out, and it convinces them to hurl to their death. There's even a viral video in October 2011 that has over 2 million views on YouTube about literally just a big collapsing happening at the Hell's Mouth.
Really?
Just, yeah.
2 million views.
Over 2 million views. Don't know why. It's literally just like a landslide. Just that's it. Anyway, so we're going to talk about... let's see. Where is it? Oh, there was a story about a man who leapt to his death after finding his home burnt to the ground and his sister missing. And it said that before a storm, his screams are still heard ricocheting off the steep sides of the cavern. Just a bit spooky,
scary.
yeah. But at the same time, it's like, well, could that explain why some people are jumping off to their death? Are they going out at the wrong kind of time at night? I don't really know. I didn't really want to find out more details about the people jumping to the death.
Yeah.
It's a bit
I know
too
we- I
dark
know
and
we-
real.
Yeah, I know we went for a walk there, and like I heard
It's a
about all
beautiful
this.
place.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing about all this, and we went just for a walk over that way, and then I think a few days later, I heard that 2 days before we went there, someone had like leapt off. And
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
it's,
And then because we went there even recently, and it's just people walking there like they have no clue that that's just such a dangerous place,
Yeah,
or
something
has
different.
such a dark history with it. It's just incredible, you know.
but I've heard there's going to be like people who go over there, which is quite like really nice and like, volunteer, and they'll just kind of like walk along a path, making sure that
That's quite good.
No,
Like
yeah.
a suicide watch kind of
Yeah.
thing. That's considerate.
It's always the case with these places, you know, that are westernmost and high, like Golden Gate Bridge is another one, which people just gravitate further and further west until they hit the end of the road, which is a big expanse of water. And something at that point just
that's kind of
Just like
Yeah,
compels them,
just-
doesn't it? Yeah.
there's nowhere else left to go. You hit the end. It's it's often the case. It's the west facing places.
It's an interesting
It is, isn't it?
concept
Yeah.
when you think about it. Yeah. It's going to make me think about other western-facing places and see if there's any other weird ties.
Yeah.
that
There's a
could
correlation
connect that.
between them all.
Yeah.
I
Like,
don't know.
there's got to be a connection of why people do.
I swear I've heard before that, like, kind of what Paul was saying about how there were some people walking across this bridge or this height, and for some reason they were just looking over, and they had an urge to like jump. They were fine, but they just randomly thought, "What am I jumping in?" Something like, strange.
It is definitely strange. I personally do not get that urge. You know, I don't see a cliff or a high spot and think I could jump that. I just don't. I'm usually like, oh, you know, I'm
Pavement's too much.
terrified
Just stepping
usually.
off the pavement's like, whoa.
Yeah, like I remember I climbed a rock wall like way back in, I think maybe like 10 years ago or whatever, and I was doing really, really well. But then I turned around and like look at how high I had climbed and everything, and all of a sudden I was like, that's it, I'm frozen in place. I was like I don't want to drop, I don't want to move. I'm just this is where I am. Yeah, once the reality hits, you know, I don't get the urge to be like, ooh, you know, dive off. I'm just like, ugh. I'm just petrified, of the fall and everything. So
But it's true what you say, because it was a surprise when we droned that coast and we saw the extent of the overhang on the path.
it is drastically
along
deep. Yeah,
that cliff, and
The
it's
overhang?
like being on it's like you wouldn't see it on land. You don't notice.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a clue. But if you see it from the sea looking back, you can see it's like a snow Cornish. You know, It's
Oh,
really
it's kind
carved
of
out.
like leaning over and the
Underneath,
path up here.
underneath it's really carved out under the path.
Mhm.
So your path is going across a stretch which is already carved out below you. It's quite concave. You just, when you see it, there,
It just really staggers you. It's
Thing is, it
insane.
can
That's quite
suddenly
incredible.
just go, can't it?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can see that breaking away. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's good solid rock, but it is being chiselled away pretty effectively.
Jeez.
It's just crazy. So we're going to carry on with the topic of giants. We're going to talk about Cormoran the Giant and Jack the Giant Killer. I mean, we've all heard about Jack of the Beanstalk, exactly. So that's nothing new. But quite frankly, I never knew, like, I don't know if this is the giant involved in that one, but you know, to think that giant in that, you know, kids book or however you want to describe it, he might have had a name, he might have had a family, and I'm like, oh, when I think about that, it really, you know, Jack did a bad thing, tore down that beanstalk and really killed him. Right. Okay. So according to folklore, Cormoran the Giant is said to have created the tidal island of St. Michael's Mount. In the legend, he carries boulders across the sea from the mainland and is also helped by his wife, Cormillion. Oh, they've got like the same name. Who carries giant granite blocks in her apron. He would often walk across to the mainland at low tide and eat livestock and even men, women, and children. He caused so much trouble to the villagers that a reward of his treasure and possessions was offered to anyone who could stop him. A local farm boy named Jack was eager to help and swam across to the island at night. He spent the whole night digging a deep pit and in the morning woke Cormoran up with a start, goading him to chase after him. Cormoran, confused and groggy from being woken abruptly, chases Jack but falls straight into the pit. Quick as a flash, Jack grabs the pickaxe and kills the giant instantly. The title of Jack the Giant Killer is born, and Jack would go on to fight many more giants.
Oh, so it all began down here.
Yeah, that's for some reason Cornwall has a big affinity for
you'll
giants.
find that in most of the stories.
It's so interesting.
Originates from
We don't know
some
what
areas.
kind of year this came from, by any chance.
No,
Hmm.
no. Like I said, a lot of these. I mean,
It's pretty-
God knows.
Yeah.
God knows the timelines that when any of these could have come out. You know, I mean, it's just incredible what you can find. There's the Doom Bar of Pastel, the Mermaid of Zenor, the Beast of Bodmin Moor. That's a bit.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be quite interesting to kind of cover. I mean, we have to, right? That's a more recent one. You got a little bit about King Arthur we can talk about. There's like Cornelius, the reason why Cornwall's named Cornwall.
Why is Cornwall named Cornwall? I should know this.
Yeah, so according to the Cornelius legend, he was known as the founder and first Duke of Cornwall. And let's see, history of the kings of Britain. He's reported to be a great warrior and descendant of the Trojans. Following an encounter with Brutus, himself a descendant of Trojan prince, Cornelius agrees to join Brutus in his search for Albion, placing himself second in command of the army. During a stop in Gaul for supplies, Cornelius provokes King Gopharius by hunting in his forest and killing one of the king's ambassadors. This results in a costly war with both sides losing many men. He eventually defeats Gopharius by sneaking behind his men and launching an attack whilst they're already engaged in fighting Brutus and his forces. On landing on Albion, the men discover a number of giants roaming the land. How funny that it all keeps
More
coming back to giants. They kill the majority but capture their leader, Gogmagog, to face Cornelius in a wrestling match. The match takes place in Plymouth, oh my god, with Cornelius winning by throwing the giant off the nearby cliffs. Brutus renames Albion after himself, Britain, and Cornelius is rewarded for his bravery with the gift of the Southwest, Cornwall.
I had no idea.
It's crazy
Yeah.
to think the founder of Cornwall wrestled giants.
But is that going to be completely factual?
Oh,
Obviously,
of course,
aside from the giants, maybe.
completely factual, obviously.
So
Completely.
the reason the Cornish still have the Cornish language, because a lot of other kind of counties and stuff died out because Romans didn't get far enough down here to really have an influence or to change anything.
They did.
So the Cornish language, like,
I think they did come down here, but they.
Yeah, like I said.
I mean, it certainly explains some of the roads down here. that's a
They
terrible.
probably started coming down. They're like,
They're like, no, this landscape's just no. We're done here.
There's straight roads here.
God, so many giants. Because I mean, yeah, and then you've still got Bolster. Obviously, like the reason for St. Agnes being St. Agnes.
Well, speaking of Bolster, I remember when I told Sophie about it, and she had no idea. It was a Christmas light switch on.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, oh, yeah, we'll go down there, be like a good little outing. And we walked down, because like you get used to it, don't you? When you're a kid, you get used to the how it works at St. Agnes. And then all the drums started kind of, banging
Beating.
really loudly. It was like, and Sophie at some point, she was just like, this is like a kind of some sort of ritual or
Pagan.
it was really strange because it's like a Christmas parade, but there's a massive giant leading a procession, war drums in the background. It feels kind of dark when you think about it because you kind of brought up like young. You get used to it.
That's brought. Yeah, you're
and
brought
that's the
up with
perspective. You see
Yeah.
this massive giant parade of draggy, big war drums, and Happy Christmas.
Well, if that's the case, then you guys should know the Legend of Bolster quite well. Do you wanna tell
Take
us?
it, Anne.
Oh, I'll let
No,
Nathan,
you want me
Nathan
to-
if he
you want me
needs
to cover
any,
it?
you know, we'll jump in.
Just saying, you guys have been exposed to it so much, but okay,
Yeah,
fine.
literally, it's every single year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is literally every
Yeah.
single year in St. Agnes,
Yeah,
specifically.
it's a
No other
celebration.
place in Cornwall celebrates this festival like St. Agnes does.
I know. I think it wasn't his Bolster's wife tried to trick him because he was a very mean son of a gun,
That's right.
and apparently tricked him, and then led him along the pathway, Chapel Porth, where she then didn't she take a knife to him and cut him?
You're close.
It's something along. We should really.
So-
It should be ingrained. in
Okay,
our-
so-
I think she asked him to fill the
feel some.
Yeah.
cliff up
Okay.
with his blood.
Look at that,
And
you're getting there. Good job.
it just drained his blood basically because it just went out to the sea. There
Well,
was-
that's right. So Bolster, just to give an idea of the perspective of the size of this giant, it says that he could step 1 foot in St. Agnes and the other foot on Cornbrea,
Yeah,
which is 6 miles apart, which is just insane. You're like, it's huge. And yeah, he was an absolute jerk to his wife, hilariously enough, and he fell in love with a woman from the village, which I think the village was called like Brianic or something at the time, not Agnes,
Right.
and her name was Agnes. And he kept trying to like win her affection, even though he was married, because he's a dick, he's a giant, he can just do what he wants, and so he kept trying to win the affection of Agnes, even though obviously she's a tiny human, he's a massive giant, and then one day, Agnes is the whole village is just like, oh, he just keeps wreaking havoc, he's eating all the livestock, he's killing people and stuff, and his wife's always crying, which floods these areas and stuff. And it's like, oh, it's just devastating. You have to do something about this, Agnes. You have like a control over him. She goes, okay, I've got an idea. So she talks to him, and she's like, look, if you really want my affection, then there's something you need to do for me. And he goes, oh yeah, I'll do anything. And she goes, I need you to fill this. It was like a cavern over by Chapel Porth. So he says, I need you to fill this hole up with your blood. And if you do that, then I will be yours forever. And he goes, oh yeah, that'll be no problem. It's just this little dinky hole. What's that going to do? But because that hole connects with the sea, he kept filling it, but it would never fill all the way up. And eventually he died just trying to fill it up with his blood. Quite dark.
It's quite a dark story, especially when you learn it at a young age.
Exactly.
Yeah, you learn it from from primary school or even before primary school.
It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Some of the stuff that you can find down here about Cornwall, because obviously there's like legends of King Arthur that are connected with Tintagel and oh god, what's the name of that? I've got it just here. Castle Andinus, which is also connected to him, but that's like a big massive plateau. I don't quite know how that connects with King Arthur, but it's fascinating, the amount of legends and stories down here. It is just like a fairy tale land half the time, but it's also full of hardworking like miners, fishermen, people who just work with their hands. They just get on with life, farming, and it's just absolutely incredible, the whole different dynamic of Cornwall compared to most of the rest of the world. It's just
it does feel like it's its own little world, doesn't it?
It does.
Because when you venture out into the big cities, once every couple of years or so, because that's too much. And you get, it feels different. Because I remember the first time I went up to London, and like walking around down in Cornwall, it's always normal to like see some random stranger and be like, "Oh, how's it going? What's on?" All that. Try that in London.
You get
it
these
doesn't
weird
work.
stares,
Absolutely doesn't work.
uncomfortable.
Get evil.
Anybody will talk to you down here anytime.
It's
Very
true.
friendly place.
Very easy.
You might not understand them, but they will totally talk to you.
Easy to strike up conversation anywhere, anytime. Yeah, it's absolutely.
It's very like relaxed and that as
It's
well.
very unlike a lot of the rest of the world these days.
It's very true.
Which I think now is why like so many people want to move down there, because it is a nice. It's hard, at times because it's so seasonal, but it is a nice place to live. It's
No,
not.
absolutely. I mean, if you can make it happen down there, you're living the lush life. You've got all the beautiful countryside that you can check out. I mean, you can walk pretty much anywhere
Walk coast to coast if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Or,
You know, the coastal path alone is such a big selling point. You know, it's just insane.
You bring all those kind of population pressures down here, though, and that number of people, and you will lose that.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Magic of it.
That's
yeah.
already happening though. Like St Agnes, without a doubt. It used to be like a real nice, quaint little village. I understand definitely people need houses and all that, but it'd be nice if they kind of kept them in the same style, the same look, so it all just looked like an extension of St Agnes. Because now when you're driving in, there's literally, as you're driving into Aggie, on the other side you can see this huge white block of like a tower block being built.
Yeah, we've just been discussing that before.
Yeah,
That's right.
Oh, just it's getting kind of ruined.
Right, so I'll move us on to another story. We're going to talk about the Doom Bar of Pastel. So, this legend has a few different versions, but the outcome is always the same. A curse placed on the harbour by the Mermaid of Pastel. It begins with the mermaid sitting on a rock. One version of the tale is that a man passing by falls in love with her, but when she rejects his marriage proposal, he shoots her in retaliation. Another version told is that the mermaid falls in love with the man and tries to lure him underwater. In order to escape, the man is forced to shoot the mermaid. On both occasions, the mermaid enacts her revenge by cursing the harbour with a bar of doom. On that evening, a terrible storm rages, and when it subsides, by the morning, there is a sandbar covered with the wrecks of ships and men who had lost their lives. The Doom Bar is still renowned as a dangerous place for passing ships and is accounted for over 600 shipwrecks. Wow.
What's more than what?
And more recently, it has inspired the name of the UK's most popular cask ale, Doom Bar. How about that? Doom Bar has a really messed up history behind it. I kind of figured it was like a sandbar or something like that, but I mean, to think there's an actual like specific one, dang, that's crazy.
That's normal for a bar to be.
I mean, quite
named
dangerous,
and to be
yeah.
specific, but they will tend to shift around a bit because they've usually got a sort of fairly sandy sort of base, and they'll just at the where the river meets the sea, they will move around, and you never quite know, where the bar is and its extent, its depth. And often they have to be dredged as well. So,
That might have explained what was happening.
that's-
Because when we went over there pre-lockdown, like every time we went, the bar was there. Like, it never shifts. It's just exposed in the same place every single time. But when we went there last time, we saw about 2 or 3 big diggers just digging everything up, dredging it out.
I see.
That's normal. So that's where you've got your marked channel for all the ships up and down the estuary there, and your bar will be shifting around, and will shift quite a lot with the Atlantic storms that we get. You already see the amount of sand that moves around on all the beaches. So it'll be re-dredged and re-dredged to keep that channel going.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's good though. Good little lesson there. Yeah, can't go wrong with that. We're educational here as well, you know. We're teaching you.
We try to be.
Yeah, we do try to. Yeah, you never know when you need to dredge. Okay, you can say you learned it from us. Mostly Paul.
I feel like there's a pun there somewhere. Maybe like Judge Dredge.
Don't dredge on, Dan. Jesus, we got stories to say. Okay. The Mermaid of Zenor. Okay, that's interesting. Mermaids are always cool. In Saint Zenora's Church in Zenor is a 600-year-old wooden bench with an image carved into the wood of a woman with long flowing hair. In one hand she holds a mirror, and in the other she holds a comb. The bench is known as the Mermaid chair, and the woman depicted is known as the Mermaid of Zenor. According to legend, many years ago, a beautiful, mysterious woman suddenly started attending the church service in Zenor. She did not live in the village, and no one had any clue where she came from. A local man, Matthew Trewella, we even get a name and everything, enamored by her beauty and encouraged by the woman glancing over and smiling at him, resolved to talk to her and find out more about her. After one church service, Matthew followed the woman towards the cliffs but was never seen again. A few years later, a ship anchored not far, but oddly moved its position only minutes later. That's weirdly weird. The captain of the ship attended the church service in Zenor and had a most unusual tale to tell the congregation. Not long after setting anchor, the captain heard a beautiful voice calling out to him. A mermaid appeared from the water and asked if he could move the anchor as it had blocked the door to her house, leaving her husband and children stuck inside. She revealed that she was the mermaid who had visited Zenor years ago before and had married Matthew. The churchgoers commemorated this event by carving the image of the mermaid in the bench she sat in when she visited the church. Well, that's different. I didn't know that mermaids would go to church.
So they're religious.
I didn't
She-
realise
yeah,
the
she was
mermaids
religious,
could grow
and
their legs.
It didn't mention whether she constantly attended the church. It must maybe just like a couple of times she did it, enough to have Matthew interested. That's yeah. And then houses underwater. I mean, I'd never thought with doors and everything. I thought maybe just like caves and things, but that's kind of changes the Little Mermaid story for me a little bit.
Yeah.
That's just interesting.
Could have shifted his anchor and dropped it again and then put it on someone else's house again.
Ah. Oh, I guess, and then had a different mermaid come out, right?
Yeah.
How many mermaids would have been down there?
Yeah, I mean, is there only one or is there a few neighbours?
Exactly, right? That's
It's just her. It must be really
just
lonely.
the one house, just the one house underwater. I
Yeah,
wonder if she's
just the one. That's why she came on shore to grab a guy.
Cool.
Nothing down there.
I wonder if she's got like any friends that come to visit her or anything. I mean, how do you? I don't know. The more I try to figure that out, the more I'm just it's just too much.
Do you reckon she had like a pet weaver fish or?
Weaver fish. That's true. I mean, what else would you have underwater with you? You can't really have like television or anything. I mean, what would you be doing under there? Just always making like seashell charms and shit.
I guess that's probably all she did.
I just. The more I think about it, you cannot really do anything if you're living under. What could you? Yeah, I'm thinking too much about it. Let's see. I've got the unsettling story of the Red Witch who terrorized miners and cursed Cornwall villagers. Let's see. According to disturbing stories, the figure of the woman appears every night at Kennidzek, now known as Kennidjack, near St. Just's. The apparition was seen numerous times, standing by a well in the dark, in chilling silence. I guess Anthony just didn't want to tell anybody that he's off. Well, you can cut this out, it's fine. She was described as the ghost of an evil witch who tormented villagers in the past and continued to haunt the area at night. The unsettling was even put in a book. That's crazy. We don't have to talk about the book, though. On the tract called Gump, near Kennidzek, is a beautiful well of clear water, not far from which was a miner's cot, in which dwelt 2 miners with their sister. They told her never to go to the well after daylight. They would fetch the water for her. However, on one Saturday night, she had forgotten to get in a supply for the morrow. So she went off to the well. Passing by a gap in a broken-down hedge, called a gurgo, I didn't know that. Near the well, she saw an old woman sitting down, wrapped in a red shawl. She asked her what she did there at that time of night, but received no reply. She thought this rather strange, but plunged her pitcher in the well. When she drew it up, though a perfectly sound vessel, it contained no water. She tried again and again, and though she saw the water rushing in at the mouth of the pitcher, it was sure to be empty when lifted out. Sounds like you got a hole in your bucket then, yeah? She then became rather frightened, spoke again to the old woman, but received no answer, hastened away and came in great alarm to her brothers. They told their sister that the Red Witch was precisely the reason they did not want her to go to the well at night. Oh yeah, sounds like she's a bit of a jerk, just oh, you've come to get water. I'm a witch, you're not getting any. What she saw was the ghost of old Mole, a witch who had been a great terror to the people in her lifetime, and had laid many fearful spells on them. They said they saw her sitting in the gap by the wall every night when going to bed. Well, that's quite... just ends there.
Oh, that was pretty abrupt.
Yeah, it was pretty abrupt ending. Well, that's quite interesting. A red witch who just...
was an absolute...
Just a bellend.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it's...
Oh, maybe she wasn't a witch. Maybe they got the letters wrong and it was a...
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, female dog. Yeah,
That's
you could totally be right. You could absolutely be right about that. I don't know, it's just... Out of like everything to do as a witch, it's just you could probably properly curse villagers and really scare people and stuff. But she just spends her night sitting at a well, making sure people don't get water. That just doesn't make any sense. That's just like the worst use of your powers, if you ask me. Absolutely worthless. She's probably sitting there. She sees them put the bucket down on the well. They're getting it tied up, and she's just under there just drilling a little hole in it real quick.
Do you reckon that the song "There's a Hole in My Bucket, Dear Liza"?
You know what?
That's where the song came from.
It all connects now. That's spooky. That's super spooky, Dan. Come on, Anthony. We need to talk about the Beast of Bodmin.
Is this a subject here?
Well, I have no idea, but I just figured you just want to be involved.
I think he'll be in a second.
I hope so.
You just got to use pasty first.
That's what he gets, man. But yeah, we'll talk about the Beast of Bodmin more, and then we'll talk a bit about that Cold War bunker, because I think that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can. Oh, yeah, right there. Boom. Perfect.
What was the guide price for that again? Like 25 grand.
That's right. Yeah, 25,000. I wonder if it's been sold yet. I don't know. I'm not saying we'll be able to buy it.
Isn't it?
Oh, is it? Is it
I
not?
think it's auction. Or was it, unless it just said that's the guide price.
It might be. I haven't read this yet. Built in 1961. There you go. Got a date and everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's an auction held online in February. Okay, that's cool.
If I can sell the candles before then.
Yeah, we'll just
Buy
save
one.
up some time, and that'll be our HQ. There you go. We'll keep all the beds in. There's 3. That's perfect. Old bunk beds remain in the bunker. That's just beautiful.
But apparently there's meant to be loads of them around. Like all these bunkers, but they're just either overgrown, no one knows about them, or...
There were loads in the World War
Yeah.
II.
It must be
Mm.
tons
To
around.
protect from bombing, so everybody had them in there.
Was it one every
Gardens.
village?
Huh?
Was it one?
No.
for
I've been to
every
people's
village?
houses and they've had them in
Yeah.
their back garden.
Yeah, I think it would depend naturally exactly if people had like enough money to make their own, or I know like there was like an old post office that had a big bunker underneath it to like get a bunch of people in it and things. So
Yeah.
I guess it just depends. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've been in one at a private house before. I
Have you?
don't even know where it is, but it's quite deep down, very
Wow.
corrugated sort of steel sheet.
Oh, and
Yeah,
that's
deep
just piled on
underground,
top of it.
just at the end of somebody's garden. Yeah,
That's pretty
that
cool.
was a Second World War bunker. It's a Cold War. That's 1947 onwards. So.
Yeah, but it says it was built in 61.
The Cold War, is more nuclear focused. So,
Yeah. Well, the terror of nuclear war that never really happened, but yeah.
No, but the bunkers would have been, built in relation to that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Not in relation to the ordinary ordnance. So
Just typical like missiles and stuff. Yeah.
So whether that would have been an effective bunker, I don't know, because it would have to be deep and very well kitted out with lots
Yeah.
of good supplies of various kinds.
Well, it says you have to go down 14 feet.
It's quite deep down.
So it's not. Yeah.
So I don't know how effective it would have been, but it probably would have helped. Would have helped some, right?
You're gonna find listening back to this quite funny.
Yeah, we kept it going and we were talking and yeah. So it's up to you whether you keep that in, but we would recommend you definitely check it over. Yeah, cool. Just, everything good? You get
Did you get your sandwiches?
No sandwiches, pasty.
just the one pasty.
No, 2 pasties.
2 pasties.
2
There we
days
go.
worth.
Yeah.
Not going to
No,
work.
that's just one day's worth.
No, that's just, that's
Pasty in the
two
morning,
a day.
pasty in the evening.
I'm Cornish born through. Yeah.
Pasties
Yeah.
a day.
Breakfast
Yeah.
and dinner.
This is a
100%.
very relevant conversation.
That can
Cool,
stay
more
in.
than that.
100%
I cannot have a day without a pasty. I don't know why.
That's because you'll get sick otherwise.
You're gonna end up
You know
looking
the
like a pasty
rules.
scene. You're gonna have a perfectly like crimped spine, and then the front's just gonna be like that.
I thought he was going to go
Side on.
Reverse hunchback.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we talked about a red witch who terrified people. It wasn't a brilliant story, if I'm honest.
It just sounds like she was like messing with people's buckets.
Yeah, just being a bit of a jerk.
Putting holes in them.
Nothing amazing really. Oh, don't get water at night, or else the witch won't let you. That's what the story was about.
oh well, that's not. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to talk about Beast of Bodmin more now, because that's more relevant and relevant, which is
it's kind of more real, isn't it?
yeah, it is
Like there
I'm
was
not
one that
discarding
came
that,
up
but-
the other day about the lady.
of the lake. What?
No, the lady that got pushed up against the car.
Oh yeah.
Did you say that came up the other day? Or was that one I told you about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came up a few months back, should I say?
Yeah.
Yeah, she got mauled by a big cat
Yeah.
trying to get into
many
a car or
sightings.
something. Yeah.
So many sightings. I mean, I did see one which I think Cornwall Live put up the other day, and it said like, "Man spots giant cat in back garden" or something like that. And you look at it, and it's really, really, really blurred. So it's like you can't tell. And then you manage to like just focus in on it a little bit, and you can tell it's just like a domestic black cat, just probably looking for some fish.
Oh, what a bloody big cat that is.
But no, there's been loads of sightings.
Absolutely.
Loads of sightings.
There's,
Like I
there's
said,
probably even because it's almost like the Bigfoot phenomenon where people put up
Yeah,
videos and pictures
yeah.
and they're like, oh, I've seen it, and you don't know if they've actually seen it or although with this one, I mean, there is some kind of big cat in Cornwall, so there is a truth to this
I was
story.
speaking about the other day how back in was it 60s, 70s, like
You could
I
own,
think it was,
yeah, you
like
could
exotic
own
animals and stuff.
animals
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
It says 1978
Oh,
because
yeah.
there have been stories that 3 pumas moved from Plymouth Zoo to Dartmoor Zoo in 1978 and never arrived at their new home. Could that explain the sightings?
Yeah, because there was that, and then there was
Yeah,
another one which had
escaped.
there was a guy who had this like zoo down, like personal for himself really, down around those areas, and apparently when the laws changed about you couldn't have exotic animals as pets, which he did because it wasn't like a public zoo or anything, instead of trying to contact some sort of like
Sanctuary or something,
like that,
yeah.
he was just like,
Be
right, see
free!
you later, go.
Open the cages and let them
Right.
out!
And there's no reason because like there was this woman who was talking about them from Red Roof, who was like an expert and studied like animal tracking in Africa and all that. And she was saying they could like there's a strong possibility if like 2 of them managed to like breed or whatever, they could happily last out there. There's so much food. There's big lakes everywhere. There's
Perfect habitat.
yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Who would have thought Bodmin Moor full of big cats?
And I remember speaking because we went for a drive over that way. Oh no, I think we come down from Somerset or something. And then we saw
Somerset?
Somerset. And we saw these like massive woods, like big woodland. And I was just like, let's just drive over there and see what's around. And then we were walking through these woods, and still it was on the edge of like Bodmin. Walking through these woods, and you looked in it, and it was just like pitch black darkness. Like it was super creepy. And I was telling Sophie about the Beast of Bodmin, and like there's going to be this big cat prowling around, and we both started getting a bit scared. Like, I was scared myself because I was like, this looks like a pretty good spot for big cats to to be.
And it turns out it was a pretty.
And then we
good
just
spot.
walked around the corner, and we heard this like. It sounded like claws tapping, and we were like looking at each other, and then we saw this massive like black thing running at us, and we were like, oh, "It's a Beast of Bodmin!" And it wasn't; it was just a dog. But yeah, I was so relieved, so relieved.
I bet you relieved yourself too, didn't you? Oh my god, it's such a crazy thing to think about, because I mean, I know I myself, because I like the idea of especially mythology and cryptozoology and what is this creature and stuff, because like I brought up the Bigfoot, or you've got like alien ideas and stuff like that. I've always liked the idea of going on a hunt for those and seeing what evidence you can capture and everything. But I think when it comes to the Beast of Bodmin, it's like, well, he's been sighted like almost all over Cornwall. How on
where do you
earth
find?
would you
then
find him?
If you do manage to track him down, and it is a big ass panther black cat thing,
What are you gonna
what
do?
happens? Like,
He's not just
you
gonna let
get
you
mauled
take
to
a
death
picture or
or
something, and then you're gonna go on your merry way. He'll probably look at you and be like, well, it's, I
it
can't
would
let
probably
anybody
end
know.
badly for you, wouldn't it?
Well, you're gonna die, aren't
Pretty
you?
cat, really. Just give him a scratch behind the ear.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, you could do that.
Yeah,
I will
you
let
can.
we will
I
let
would
you
love
do
to see that. Managing to make contact with Beast of Bodmin, you're really like, come here, come on.
I've got a bit of pasty if you want, mate. I'll take your whole hand
Oh.
off, probably your whole arm off. God, he might eat you whole.
Most probably. it's worth a look.
You're just
isn't
so confident. I mean, you probably would.
We can
yeah.
try it then. We'll go out and do it.
We'll
One
watch
hand-
it.
Shout out
Yeah.
like a fishing rod and just cast him out into the moors. And
I mean, we wanted to see the moors anyway, so might as well,
Yeah.
make a full-on
Oh, yeah.
day.
that is like a trek.
It is a massive place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to get up at like 3 in the morning, drive up there.
Probably have to like camp out there or something.
That'd probably be easier.
Yeah. Which I mean, we'll look into it because that's a fun
There's
idea.
there's so many myths and legends and stuff about the moors.
Mm.
Like a lot of
Well, that'll be a whole nother podcast episode. The rate it's going, then
And
we'll
there's
talk.
another place as well, which is on, I think it's Dartmoor.
The Beast of Dartmoor?
Dartmoor.
The Dragon of
Dartmoor
Dartmoor.
Jail, Dartmoor Prison,
Oh yeah.
which is like super airy. I think it was abandoned for quite a while because it was just becoming so run down. So we need to go and explore that maybe.
That'd be cool. I'd be down for that.
it?
Absolutely.
Always down for some exploring.
I think there's a hospital somewhere over by Bodmin that would be quite cool to check out as well. That one's also abandoned, but you can get into it. Yeah, so that's worth it. I think that'd be quite exciting. Right, should we talk a little bit about the Owl Man?
Yeah,
Oh, the Owl Man.
man.
Have you heard about that, Paul?
No, I don't know the Owl
Oh,
Man.
the Owl Man. Morton Smith, isn't it?
Is that right? Morning Cornwall. Sorry, I was just trying to pull it up, so I didn't know if you guys knew anything else about it. Ah, yeah, Morning Smith. You're right. Been scaring holidaymakers for 100 years. Oh my god, all the way back to the 1920s. He has been sighted. That's crazy. A remote church in Cornwall is said to be home of a half-man, half-owl creature which has been terrifying locals and holidaymakers since the 1920s. St. Marmon and St. Stephen's Church, located about a mile from the village centre of Marmon Smith, is a peaceful church surrounded by woods and boasting a breathtaking sea view. But according to Cornish folklore, it has been haunted by a human-sized owl with large wings, long claws, and glowing eyes for a century. The beast is known as the Owlman of Marmon Smith. The first sighting of the Owlman was only reported in April 1976. It said that 2 teenage girls on holiday with their parents in Marmon Smith walked down to the old and remote church more than a mile from the village centre. On the top of the church tower, they saw what was described as a terrifying bird man with wings and feathers. The story says that they were so scared by the sighting that their father decided to put an end to their holidays and leave Cornwall immediately. Oh my god! I mean, that is pretty terrifying. I mean, I'm not a dad, but
could you put yourself in that shoes?
I mean, I suppose that is at the same time reasonable. If you're, I mean, one child might lie, but if both of them said like the same bizarro story, I suppose you'd have to kind of believe it, right? I don't know. Obviously,
or maybe he was really like hating a trip down here.
And he just wanted any reason to leave.
Trying to scare them.
He climbed up on the church, though, and just was like, yes, I'll just scare the shit out of them with my new owl costume. Yeah, he just picked up, just made an owl costume. It's just insane, isn't it?
But no, it is a creepy story, and I remember I've had a cricket game down at Marmon Smith, and I was only young, probably like, 23, 24, and I was like 13, 14, and I think my dad told me about the Owl Man, and then I ended up just searching everything about it, and then had the cricket match the day after or so.
Yeah.
And I remember I was looking down because it was near the church. I remember looking down at all the hedges I kept an eye out constantly. And then every time
you enjoying the cricket, Dan?
Yeah,
Dad. Cricket's fun. Yeah. Can I borrow your binoculars? Oh. I mean, it's cool because then it makes me think of like, especially growing up in the States, there was like the Mothman, and I think they had their own kind of Owlman version.
The Mothman, was he just constantly smashing into lights all the
time? Pretty much. No, it was. Oh god, I don't even remember the story really that much, but he was basically just a giant man with massive wings that would like fly after people and stuff. And then there was like the Jersey Devil, and you've got Yetis and Sasquatches and stuff. Yeah. So like, I love those like super bizarre stories. Being like, oh, who comes up with this shit? It's like that just sounds it's too crazy, but it's like, well, I mean, that's quite interesting though. I'm quite curious to see what they found, especially when they're like, oh, we've got pictures and stuff. You're like, all right, I'm into it now. Yeah, I got to see what you found. That's great.
But has there only been any like photographs of this Owlman?
I don't know actually.
I haven't seen anything pop up.
Let's see. I'll see if I've got any pictures of it. I've got pictures of just the church and the woods.
I swear as well. I'm pretty sure there was a journalist who heard about the Owlman. I swear he's from America as well.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm sure I heard that he came over to like have a look into it, and then apparently he stayed down there for like a day or 2 days, had some sort of like weird experience. I think he saw it or something, and then just got straight back on the plane and bolted. So yeah.
Let's see. At the time, all eyes turned to the village, and the discovery made the national headlines. The Owlman was quickly branded a hoax when people realized that all reports led back to one man, magician and paranormal researcher Tony Doc Shields. At the time, the mysterious man was having a moment of glory for taking part in a project to find and invoke monsters. He also allegedly saw the Loch Ness Monster and took a picture of it. He lived in St. Ives. Oh, and now he lives in Ireland. Okay.
So it's probably just tone, just
maybe
messing about.
I don't know. Oh, hang on. Last year, a ghost hunter from Falmouth claimed he spotted the Owlman and that his friend got attacked by it. Okay, so we got some newer stuff. Okay. Mark Davies was in the graveyard with his friend Chris Power, 36, from Manchester. Mark said there's ley lines which are under the ground near the church and they give off paranormal activity. There was a hissing in the trees and you could hear flapping. I heard it go right over my head and I was shocked. That's when I saw the figure and it had horns on its head. It was mad. On the meter I had, which picks up electric magnetic energy that we use to detect ghosts, I was getting conscious replies to my questions through it. That's telling me there's a demonic energy and it wasn't safe. My mate got attacked, he had scratches on his arm, his camera broke too. He didn't see anything, he just felt this surge of energy. He didn't realise till about half an hour later when he felt some burning. It's not a place I would advise anyone to go there alone, let's put it that way. Okay, well that's quite
That's
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
I just wonder, because obviously they had cameras and stuff, I wonder if they've got...
There must be proof. Surely if
There
they're
must
out
be
there
something,
investigating,
right?
They would have got something.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't just... Especially if you heard that it could have possibly just been a big... I mean, all of these could be hoaxes at the end of the day, but, you know, if you're properly investigating it and you have an experience, you can't just say that and then I don't see any pictures or video about it. I mean, come on. Well, that's pretty cool. I like the idea of the Owl Man. I don't know if I've really got any other stories at the moment. No, that was my current list that I've made. Well, that's pretty good.
That's quite a lot.
It's quite an amount, yeah.
The main myths and legends covered.
Pretty much, because I would have liked to have done King Arthur, but I think that's a whole lot more.
That's a big.
It is a big subject and topic to cover.
Research needing to go into that.
Exactly. So I don't think we were quite ready for that. Then there's obviously also the St. Angus Cold War bunker up for sale, which Dan hilariously said that we should buy it for our HQ. But as you
Crowdfunder coming soon.
So it's £25,000. So if anybody wants to help us out with that, we will buy it if we have the money.
Wasn't that one of our first exploring videos we put up?
I mean, that would just be hilariously ideal then if it was like one of the first bunkers that we went to, and then it turns out now we own it.
That would be
just full circle, wouldn't it? I mean, that was like what, like a year ago? I think we started this whole mess of us just.
Was that a year ago?
Something like that, yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Roughly.
It might have been like I don't know. It was like September 2019, so a little over a year. That's crazy, isn't it? I mean, we have done quite a bit of stuff since then.
Yeah.
I mean, look at us. We're talking through a microphone now. Just the future. Yeah, we're so much more hardcore exploring. Well, we hope you guys have really enjoyed it. We've had a nice little time exploring a bit of Cornish folklore and mythology. And let us know what you want to see for the next one. All right, you take care.
Goodbye.